put the house on the market to give it the best opportunity to actually get the best price. I think that's one of the problems as well.
Welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, please hit the subscribe button and the like button. You can also share it with your friends that are interested in real estate. So now, let's say I'm deciding to sell my house today. When do I notify the bank? Is it only when I have an offer or as soon as I take the house to the market?
I would suggest that you actually do it as soon as you do the mandate, when you actually put your house on the market, rather give a bank notice straight away. If you wait until your house has got an offer on it, if for some reason that transfer goes through quicker than 3 months, you'll be short of your 3 months period of giving notice. Particularly if it's a cash sale, you might find all of a sudden everything works very quickly and the attorneys get everything in line, and then your transfer goes through a lot quicker, and then you will end up with penalties. So I advise my clients rather ask for, do it at the mandate stage. And you can be sure that you're not going to be at any penalties against you. So those are just, those are a couple of ideas. But I think sellers as well, they also sometimes present their homes, and we look objectively at the home, and we often say to the sellers in a sensitive way, a couple of little things you can do to your home that would actually just make it feature better. So you might say, let's get the pool to be nice and blue. Let's cut the grass. Let's touch up the painting. So it's not expensive things, but it's the little things around the home that would actually make it present a lot better. So sellers sometimes forget to do that. Say, this is my home. Can you sell it? And you say, well, let's try and move a few things around. You also need to guide them in a sensitive way. So sometimes people have got lots of very memorable things around their home. I'm trying to find the right word. You can ask them to declutter. Let's move some of the stuff into the basement, and then one can actually then take it from there. So I think sellers sometimes forget to actually try put the house on the market to give it the best opportunity to actually get the best price. I think that's one of the problems as well. Sellers also might find that when they put in a house on the market, they will chat with the agent in terms of the viewing arrangements. So whether it's going to be weekend, after hours, or whatever. For us, our job is a lot easier if there's access. We don't expect to get keys, but if the seller says not this weekend, next weekend, we've got a very keen buyer. And the idea is to get that buyer through the house as quickly as possible. So the more accessible the house is, it makes a lot easier. And I understand sellers are busy and they've got jobs and they've got things to do in the afternoons, but if they can actually try and make it accessible, it makes our job a lot easier as well. And I think sometimes as well, the agent taking the client through, it's quite nice if the seller's not present, if they're outside, because sellers can make this difficult for us. Sometimes they'll take over and start talking.
Yeah.
And it might make a buyer a bit uncomfortable because they try to sell or oversell their houses. That's our job. So it's nice if we could just let the agent do their job and tell them through the house and have a look at the house as it is. And so it does make it a bit awkward when you've got the seller that's actually taking over the job of the agent. I think with viewings as well, over the years, I've tried to sensitively encourage sellers to put dogs away. Dogs are gorgeous. They're lovely to have dogs around, but not all people enjoy dogs. They're scared of dogs. They've got fear of dogs. And if you're trying to look at a house and the dog's jumping up on the buyer and they get very anxious, they're not going to look at the house. They're going to think about the dog. So I think from that perspective, I think it's quite important to be sensitive about the buyer and then make sure that the dogs are perhaps just taken away and taken for a walk. And if you have got dogs, can you just perhaps clean the yard for what the dog might leave behind, the little parcels, so you don't have to step and over all these things. And I think things like also cleaning the pool, making sure the grass is cut, those things, it just help us because it just makes it so much easier as well. It's hard to sell a house where there's lots of underwear in the bathroom, so let's try and move underwear out. Um,
So ich könnte my head ahead, very the spirit.
the other gets there.
So what's the man? Also this beautiful home with the potential buyer, and we were like viewed there. It was beautiful. Everything was nice. And when you go to the bathroom, they have that thing. I don't know what you call it. Like I don't know what that is, man. But it has so many underwears. So I mean, like they do like a whole laundry of underwears.
Just sit there.
I bet like okay, the pick. Yeah, but that's crazy. I think also I 100% agree with the accessibility. I had one of the flats that I was trying to sell as well, and it was difficult. It has been difficult to sell it, and I had two potential buyers. But now because there was a tenant there, and the tenant is never available, and you end up like the buyer ends up that they're not gonna wait for you or for the tenants to be available. They will just move on to the next property. So I think accessibility is quite
I
impactful.
think as well with our buyers, they when the energy is high and they want to see their property, they might lose interest if they've got to wait and wait and wait. So I just think it's important for that accessibility to make those appointments. Tenants, we love tenants because they pay our bonds when you sell properties. Thank you very much for that. But often tenants can make our jobs even more difficult where we actually have a tenant present and the buyers looking at the property. The tenants feels quite vulnerable and feel under threat because they're going to use their rental capital, although we do honor the lease agreement, so they won't be put on the street tomorrow. We follow the protocols in terms of the lease agreement. But tenants will often take it upon themselves to point out to the purchaser all the faults. This doesn't work, the water pressure's low, or the noise in the street. And it's really quite off-putting. But we can understand why they're doing it, particularly if they've been there for a very long time. So tenants, thank you for paying our bonds, but could you we'll find you another place.
Yeah, I was listing a townhouse, and then I found a tenant there. He was a cool guy, and we spoke. And because I was alone, and I tried to make sure I'm aware of everything that is in the house. So he was telling me I was completing a door that I know this house has 8 BMC. In my mind, I was happy because like at least I know. But little did I know that when I come back with the buyer, that's excited. He's an exact to a point where I called him on the side. I was like, my brother, now I'm with the client. Please calm the hell down. Don't say this. Just know this time. Yeah.
The simple things as well is putting the lights on in the house just actually can make it brighter and better on the eye. All those sort of appealing things that when you look at the home, you've got the lights on, the curtains are open, the doors unlocked, there's free access flowing through the lounge right through to the garden. And that makes a huge difference. If you can put the pot of kettle on, coffee on, it's always lovely to have that lovely smell of coffee. Put some muffins in the oven, but it's quite nice to make the home feel warm and welcoming. And it makes a huge difference. It really does. Buyers will respond to that. So we may have an amazing home, but perhaps it's a bit cluttered or it's got nasty smells in it. And they'll focus on that and not focus on the home. The reverse is sometimes we have very average homes with stunning furniture. When the furniture goes, it's just an average home. So it works both ways. It really does. And dishes, you can put them in the oven. So if you've got dirty dishes, hide them away, put them in the oven, then we won't see them.
It goes back to the fact that people buy from an emotional position, but justify with logic. Yeah. So I'm sure the way houses were sold 16 years ago compared to now has been totally different. Like, I think there must be changes because of like your technology improving and the way we market has also like changed. So is there any changes that you can pick out in the process of setting a home compared to 16 years ago?
Absolutely. Or even beyond. I know when I was growing up, I was watching how houses, always had an interest in houses and looking at show days. But I think in terms of the most significant change is the fact that we've now got, we don't have print media. We don't have the houses showcased in the newspaper.
What happened with it?
Print media, we have a newspaper, you have the Natal Witness, and then they had quite a few, they had a supplement inside the Natal Witness, and they would put all the houses that were for sale inside there. So we would then put our adverts through. That was our biggest form of engagement with the public, was Saturday morning. If you were looking for a home, you go and get the newspaper, you take the supplement out, and then you go through all the different agencies are basically advertising in there, circle the ones you want to see which ones are going to be on show. So that, I think there's probably are still some companies that do do advertise in the media, in the print media, in the newspapers. But that was a very big thing when I first started. It was a major thing. I mean, the supplements were really thick.
Okay.
And that was the point at which the purchasers made decisions based on what was actually in this catalog or in this little supplement. Now we've got the internet, we've got all sorts of portals, we've got Part 24, and we've got private property. So our buyers are getting quite sophisticated in terms of trying to filter what they look for. And they go onto one of those, on one of Property 24, and they put in the criteria: we need 3 bedrooms, we need to have swimming pool, whatever. And then they'll see all the houses available in that suburb in their price range. And that helps them to filter so that they then can have a short list of these are the houses that fit my criteria. And then they make the phone call to the agent to actually arrange the viewing. So the reaches are greater. It also doesn't waste time. So you don't just say to an agent, I need a house in the Hayfield suburb. And you go to all the houses we've got listed, and you might not have the right house for them because they haven't really seen the video or the photographs, and you're going in blind. Whereas now, the technology is amazing in terms of drones. You can tell us about your drone view. So drones, and we have virtual tours, we've got the HD videos, we've got the HD photographs. So we are more successful and are more sophisticated in actually marketing our houses that we're selling using the social media, as well as places like Property 24 and those portals. So it's actually fantastic for us. It really is. So that's actually been a major change. And as I say, the purchasers can make decisions. Okay, I need to see this house and this house. However, photographs don't always do justice. And that's when you're going to rely on your agent to say, you don't seem to like that house in that street. I've been to that house and I think it looks better in real life. There's no better way than to actually physically go and view it. So sometimes we've got to talk them into actually going to have a look at the property. And often it's this, wow, didn't look like this, because it's different perspectives. When you look at it in, the photographs or the videos, it looks very different on the screen. So that's something we have to be aware of, but we sometimes have to convince them to actually just have a look at it and then make a decision. So I think with the media, that's changed a lot. Show days are still alive and well. And so you said in the last 16 years. So I remember when my parents bought a home, I was in high school a long time ago. I'm not going to tell you how long. And they bought their house on a show day. In those days, the show days were from 9 o'clock in the morning till 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
The whole day.
The whole day. And I remember we went to some show days. So I was thinking, gosh, these poor agents, that's their whole Sunday. They're sitting there the whole day. We've now structured it better, where we actually have either a view by appointment, or we would have a show day for a couple of hours in the afternoon. So I think show days are still relevant, and I think they are still carrying on, but that modify them slightly. what I've noticed with show days is that in the past, petrol was cheap. So Sunday afternoon activity, get in your car and let's go look as many show days as we possibly can. Yeah. Not that they've even been a buyer, but let's go and have a look at how the neighbors are living. Petrol was cheap, so you could actually go all over. It was a Sunday afternoon ritual. We all did that. And we go get ideas, and someone else says, oh gosh, look how they've done their kitchen. With petrol being what it is, and time would be incredibly important, people are all selective. So when you're doing a show day, you're going to end up with the serious buyers, and they'll be very selective as to which house they want to go and see. So that's changed quite a bit in terms of show days. Security remains a problem, and we've got to be vigilant about the vulnerability of being in a show day. But there are things one can actually factor in, having a colleague with you, having those structures in place so that you are quite safe. So show days are still just definitely there. In terms of other changes, I think, as I say, in terms of the buyers now, they are a lot more selective, and they will then go and look at specific properties. Still, our best advert is the for sale boards, and that's still there. Survive the test of time. You put your for sale board out because it looks clustering the houses for sale in a particular suburb. So people will drive, oh, that house is for sale. They might not be on the computer, so that, oh, that house is for sale. Let's phone the agent.
Yeah.
There, we do instruct our sellers to be very firm. If they get a knock on the door, the doorbell rings, to explain to that person they need to make an appointment for safety reasons, and they'll contact the agent so that the agent can then assist them to actually view the property as well.
So you can't just like see the board outside and be like, this property is for sale, therefore I can just get it. They have to have Zuko and
You need
watch
to
it.
call, make an appointment, and you've also then got a record as to who's coming through your house, because you've planned for.
So in terms of like the short days and there being threats on security, like how does that has there ever something that happened?
And look, there are a lot of incidents that have happened in show days. I can't go to recall in the area that we were, but I think in the bigger cities in Johannesburg and Cape Town, I think there are some horror stories. So that's why one has to make sure you've got a colleague with you, you've got panic buttons, you've put all the valuables away and things like that. We just got to be vigilant with the crime going up and up. We just got to be vigilant in terms of.
But you personally have never been in a situation where you're on show day and then
No, I haven't. No, absolutely. So, as I mentioned, I do lots of training and I mentor. So my interns often will do the show days for me. So I have Sundays off, which is so silly.
oh god, it's okay. Yeah, but I can imagine like how if I mean if you're gonna have a show day, you would have to advertise it and everyone knows about it. So criminals can see it like as an opportunity and come there as like potential buyers when they are coming to collect everything you have in there.
That's right. And because obviously the address is actually put on the ad.
Yeah, the address is
The view by appointments are also very useful, where you would there still advertise it through the Prop 24 banners to say it's view by appointment, and then clients will phone up and you can make a specific appointment that would suit them and the sellers. And then it gives the freedom to enjoy their Sunday with their family and not necessarily have to be bound to day to look at show days. So there's positives and negatives. So it just depends what's going to suit that particular seller in terms of getting out there for the show days.
So I want to understand about the seasons of the year. Like, do you think there is a better time of selling during the year where your house is most likely to sell quicker and maybe at the best price possible, or it's just the same from January to December?
I've got a theory about this, and it's just a personal theory, that in spring and summer, generally a couple of things happen. You feel a lot happier. Spring and summer, the weather's great, lovely and warm. So the mood is it's really lovely. Spring and summer, you've got the gardens look lovely. You can view late into the evening because the sun goes down much later. So your viewing time's a lot longer. So your house is probably going to look its best in spring and summer. Uh, in winter, I have, in my own experience, has also found that people tend to, it's cold. It's not, we're South African, it's cold. It's not such fun in terms of mood. And in winter, the grass is brown. You haven't got these beautiful flowers in your garden. It's really cold. You want to go out and view. It's raining. So in my experience, I've found that my spring, summer months happen to be the months that I sell most properties. Having said that, in winter also coincides with the long July holiday. And when families on holiday, they're also less likely to go house hunting because they've gone away. So it might be seasonal in that sense that you basically got other things happening. So that's something I've basically noticed as well. Uh, Spring and summer, coincidentally, will be at a time of the year where people are making changes in their careers. So they're going to relocate, they've got a new job. So that also gets factored in terms of, so maybe it's just a coincidence that I love the spring and summer sales, but it might be other factors such as taking on a new job, children go to a particular school, they're needing to move closer to the children's school. So I do think those seasons are quite important. Um, However, there's another school of thought that in winter it's a better time to sell, I'm told, because there are less houses on the market, so there's less competition and you get a higher price. I don't know. We get debate this whenever I'm not sure.
Well, it all makes sense. No, I think it makes sense that in winter, people are not gonna less likely to buy it because they're trying to get themselves warm and their own is warm as well.
The other factors is what it depends on a particular seller because they may have career change, they may be facing retirement, they may be retrenched. So that could happen anytime get there. So it's not necessarily the season. So it depends on what's happening within their lives as to when they put their house in the market. They might be immigrating. And then they work their time out, so that the timeline out, so that when they do immigrate, they can then be sure and certain that their house has been sold. So those factors are quite important in terms of when one actually sells one's house. Personal factors, I also think the summer and spring months. Financially, sometimes people like to pick up searching for investment properties after the financial year has closed. So there's lots of reasons. And people might get a promotion to say, well, I'm going to buy another property, buy a bigger home. So it's quite important to recognize that it's very unique and individual as to when you sell your house.
Yeah, yeah. All right, okay. So now coming to, let's say you have an offer now as a seller. What's the one thing you think sellers don't realize when it comes to the process of negotiating once they got the offer?
You know, we always get excited when we get the offer. It's a long ride as well. So often we would go and present an offer to the seller. And if it's below the listed price, we often find that there's a knee-jerk reaction, rejection, outright no. And I think our job as agents is to try to encourage the sellers to actually think about it, look at the conditions and the various suspected conditions within the sale. So they are going to be focusing on the price, but the other things that they've got to look at, they've got to look at things such as, is it a cash buy? Is it a bond? They've got to look at the dates. Where does this purchaser want to move in? Do they want to move in earlier for early occupation? Those are very important conditions within a sale. So it's not always just about price. Price is important, but we've got to look at the other elements of the offer. And often if I get a seller who would say, no, our client, I just calm down and I create context. So we've got to give them an idea as to who the purchaser is, the reason for liking their home. And once you've actually painted that picture, and then you look at the terms and conditions within the sale agreement, they often will rethink it, and if they're still unsure, I'll say, sleep on it. The worst for me is when I get an offer, if it's not accepted, and I walk away with the offer. What I like to do, and I say to my sellers, I understand that I respect your position. You're not happy with this price. This is what the purchaser is offering for your home. Where would you like to countersign it to? What number would be comfortable for you to actually countersign the offer? And then they start calculating and saying, well, this is the amount. It's not quite the listed amount, but I'd be happy to have XYZ.
Yeah.
I then say, well, let us actually change the price. We sign it, we initial it. I'll go back to the purchaser. But like tennis, you need to keep the ball in play. The minute you walk out and it's rejected, I like to keep it in play because you can end up at a position that suits both the buyer and the seller. So we keep negotiating. And we had some wonderful directors here at Remax over the years, and one of them always said to us, if your sale agreement has got lots of changes, you've worked hard and you've earned your commission. So change as many things as you want, initial them, and then you can get to a point that's acceptable to both the buyer and the seller. So the challenge for us is if we get multiple offers on the table at the same time, then it's a lovely position to be in. Can be very stressful. In those situations, the sellers are just looking at price. Okay, where's the highest price? What's the lowest price? And then we go through that whole context of, do they have to get a bond? Have they been pre-approved? Have they got the cash? Where is the cash? When do they want to move in? Often a lower offer with, say, for example, an early occupation can compensate for the drop in the price, as opposed to a full price offer with occupation on transfer, and you need to leave to go take on your new job, and it has to be empty. You can get some income if you've got the purchaser moving in earlier. So those multiple offers, we've got to look at them quite objectively and then negotiate those. The fun side of this is that when I sit with the seller and we're sitting with an offer, and I'll say to the seller, you're a seller today, tomorrow you're a buyer. So remember, you could go and put a lower offer in the house that you want, just like this buyer is. And the seller on the house you want to buy is going to want top dollar. So the tables turn, and I always say to beware. So they will sort of change their tune quickly. Sometimes, not all the time, if a buyer is convinced and they absolutely do not want to lose the house, they might put a full price offer, or they might even go above asking price, particularly if they know that they're competing with other offers. I always say to my buyers, I'm aware that there are other agents writing up offers at the same time. They will be all presented fairly at the same time, all at the table in sealed envelopes. You make your offer the best one that you possibly can if you are motivated to be at that house. So they might go a bigger deposit, or they might go up in price slightly. So it depends on those circumstances if you really are committed to actually buying the house. But
Thank you so much for tuning into our channel today. I hope that you received a lot of insights from the conversation that we had with Margaret. And I would like to remind you to share the video, to subscribe and support the channel so that we can keep on providing you with high quality videos that will teach you about property in South Africa. Until we meet again.